You ever wake up to the sound of your entire life getting bulldozed, literally? Because that's exactly what happened to me. Picture this. Sun's barely up. Birds haven't even bothered to sing yet. And here comes a monster yellow bulldozer smashing straight through the steel gate I welded together with my own 2 hands. Karen Blackwood. Yeah, that Karen, Queen Bee of the HOA, sat all smug in her shiny black SUV, sipping coffee while 8 goons with crowbars stomped all over my land. And there I was, shotgun in hand, with Karen looking right past me like I was just a stubborn weed she'd have her landscaper pull. You know what I mean? Welcome to Tuesday at my place. See, this wasn't about some dirt road anymore, or about the view from her perfect little McMansion. No, this was about power. It was about Karen deciding my 20-acre ranch, my life's work, was an eyesore in her kingdom. She thought a plastic nameplate from an HOA meeting meant she could threaten my wife, Lisa, with fire, or bulldoze what we'd built with 20 years of sweat just because it wasn't community standard. Thing is, Karen made a mistake. She thought quiet meant weak. She had no clue my land was a fortress of hidden cameras, that the court order she'd cooked up was about as real as her spray tan, and that she'd just signed up for a fight she was never going to win. So, let me back up a sec and tell you how we got here. How one paper tyrant found out exactly what happens when you push a quiet man too far. My name's Tim Danvers. 20 years ago, Lisa and I got tired of city life. Our little balcony overlooked an 8-lane highway. The soundtrack of our marriage was sirens and some neighbor upstairs who bowled at 2 a.m. We needed quiet like we needed oxygen. So, we scraped and saved, and finally bought 20 acres at the end of a winding dirt road, miles from anywhere. We didn't buy a lifestyle, we built a life. Poured the foundation, grew our food, watched the deer wander up at dusk. You couldn't even borrow a cup of sugar unless you wanted to walk a half mile, and that's exactly how we liked it. For years, it was just us and the woods. The place bordered state forest, and the only break in the tree line was an old farm that sat empty for as long as we'd been here. But about a year back, the bulldozers came, again, but this time not for me. They stripped the land bare, poured asphalt, and overnight, cookie-cutter houses rose up like weeds. Whispering Pines, they called it. An HOA community with rules for everything from mailbox shape to flower color. The kind of place where community harmony means every lawn looks like a golf course and individuality gets you fined $100 a day. Now, here's the kicker. The only way in or out for us was our dirt road, deeded to us, maintained by me. It skirted their new development and, apparently, ruffled more than a few HOA feathers. Folks didn't like looking at unapproved surfaces. But, hey, my land, my road. Simple as that. Or so I thought. It started like all disasters do, a letter. Fancy envelope, thick paper, signed by the HOA president, inviting us to join their community harmony, suggesting, ever so kindly, that maybe we should pave our old dirt road to enhance the neighborhood aesthetic. Enhance it to the tune of $50,000, mind you. I laughed so hard reading that letter, I nearly toppled the mailbox. But Lisa didn't laugh. She just frowned, worried. And she was right to be, because that first letter was just a warning shot. The next one, a week later, wasn't so nice. Non-compliance, it said. Fines accruing daily. This time, I slapped it on the fridge with a magnet, right next to Lisa's drawing of a giant zucchini. I figured, what power do they have? We never signed a thing. We're not in the HOA. It was just paper, right? Then the letters stopped being funny. Lisa started jumping at shadows. So I figured, fine, let's talk. I walked into their clubhouse, looking like I'd just crawled out from under a tractor, which, to be fair, I had. Whole room froze. Karen was in her power suit, pointing at slides about mailbox rust. When I introduced myself, the room acted like I'd coughed up a lung on the carpet. Karen, trying to play tough, said I was accruing substantial fines. I told her I was accruing kindling for my wood stove. I tried to keep it civil, explained my road was on my deed, HOA rules didn't apply, not to me. That's when her loyal minion, sweater vest and all, whined about dust on his Lexus. I told him, it's the country, pal. Dirt happens. Wash your car. That got a couple snickers, one from Brenda, the mulch lady, who whispered that the mailbox rules were getting out of hand. Karen almost popped a vein. I left with Karen screeching about compliance workshops, and me thinking maybe, just maybe, common sense would win out. Yeah, that happened. A week later, I found orange flags staked into my property. Someone had snuck onto my land at night, laying out a line for a new road. That was it. Gloves off. I tore up every flag, hung them on my gate, but I knew that wasn't enough. Next came Karen herself. White pantsuit, clipboard, and two muscle-bound security goons with Whispering Pines logos. She tried to give me the legal song and dance, claiming the HOA had absolute right of entry and my blighted road was bringing down property values. She laughed when I threatened to call the sheriff, told me the sheriff eats at her clubhouse every Thursday. That's when I knew this wasn't a negotiation. This was a siege. Days later, two younger thugs showed up with crowbars, waving fake work orders, telling me to move my truck or else. One shoved me. Rookie mistake. I tossed him into the gravel like a sack of feed. His buddy swung a crowbar, missed me by a mile. I dropped him with a kick to the knee, hard enough to make him rethink life. They left the crowbar behind, took their pride, and hobbled away. Now, you'd think they'd get the message. But bullies never do. Next, someone cut my power in the middle of the night. Lisa and I sat in the dark, scared for the first time in years. Then a rock crashed through our window, wrapped with a note. Final notice. Asset liquidation via combustion. Yeah, they threatened to burn down our home. That's when something in me snapped, or maybe just set. I called the sheriff, who shrugged and told me to get cameras. So, I did. 8 high-def, night vision, motion-triggered cameras with cloud backup. If they so much as sneezed on my property, I'd have proof. Lisa packed go bags, just in case. Our home turned from a sanctuary into a bunker. You ever have that moment, sitting up at night, wondering if you should just cave in? Lisa did. She begged me, let's just pave the damn road. But I knew if we gave an inch, they'd take the whole thing. No, we decided. No more waiting. I reinforced the gate, steel I-beams, cross-sections, enough to stop a truck. Then I laid out every gun I owned. Not because I wanted a fight, but because I was done running from one. And at dawn, they came. The bulldozer hit first, ramming my gate until it buckled and gave. Behind it, a backhoe, pickup trucks full of men. Karen parked far enough away to watch, but not get her shoes dirty. I woke Lisa, sent her to the safe room, told her to call 911 and say she feared for her life. Get the law moving fast. Meanwhile, I slipped to my workshop, shotgun ready. As the bulldozer chewed up my road, I fired a single round straight into its radiator. Black coolant everywhere, the engine dying like a shot animal. The backhoe tried to advance, but I'd stacked firewood on a high bank, rigged with a tripwire. One shot to the rope and a ton of logs crashed down, blocking the path. Now it was just me and them. Hose, remember him, the big flat top? Rallied the others, pushed them forward with crowbars and tire irons. I stepped out, racked my shotgun, shouted, "Sheriff's on the way. Get off my land." Half the men broke and ran, good instincts. The rest charged. The next minutes were a blur. Baseball bats, pipe wrenches, fists, sweat, blood. I ducked, I blocked, I hit back. Years of hauling engines and swinging sledgehammers gave me work muscle. I took hits, landed more. But Hose, he was something else. He pinned me, sneered in my face. I spat in his eye. He faltered. I smashed him in the chest with the shotgun stock, swept his legs out. He hit the dirt, didn't get up. The last 2 guys bolted. I stood alone, battered, bloody, but standing. In the distance, sirens wailed, help finally coming. One kid, barely 20, crawled out from behind the backhoe, white as a sheet. She said this was legal. She said we had a court order, he babbled. I told him, she lied. He cracked, handed me a manila folder full of forged papers. Please tell them I helped, he begged. Sheriff Miller rolled up, a real old-timer, respected in the county. Karen came storming over, shrieking for my arrest, ranting about property values and her fake court order. Miller didn't even blink, looked at her paperwork, saw it was a joke, a felony forgery. In front of the whole community, he had her cuffed, power suit and all, while she screamed she was the president of Whispering Pines. Yeah, Karen, you were. Now you're just inmate number 34672. Turns out, Karen was more than a bully. She'd been fleecing her own HOA, using security as her muscle, ruining lives with fake fines. The community rose up, booted the whole board, and brought in new management. Our civil suit settled quick. Insurance paid for damages, lawyers, and, honestly, a nice vacation if we wanted one. But that's not why we fought. It was never about the money. It was about the principle. A few days after, a neighbor from the new development showed up, awkward as can be, holding a casserole. Not all of us agreed with Karen, he said, eyes down. Most of us just want peace. Thank you. He left the lasagna on my fence post. Lisa and I ate it on our porch, under the quiet sky. It tasted like a truce. I built a new gate, ugly as sin but solid. Put up a sign, private property. We defend what is ours. As the sun set, Lisa took my hand and asked, "Is it over?" "For now," I said. "Let him try again. This is my land. Here I am. So what do you think, folks? Where's the line between defending what's yours and going too far? Would you have fought back, or just paved the road and kept the peace? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me about a time you stood your ground, or maybe when you wish you had. Justice, right, wrong, where do you draw the line? If you've ever tangled with a bully, HOA or otherwise, hit share, hit like, let's hear your story. Because out here, sometimes the only thing standing between you and losing everything is you.